Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to Sunday morning on Jim's 5 a.m. club. I'm up here at North Mead, about to go on a bushwalk. It's a glorious day. There's a bit of smoke in the air from all the burn off, and we'll see where this track leads us today. I'm going to go on a few other tracks and hopefully I won't get lost. But what I want to do is do what I normally do, is go through a book summary. And today's book summary that we're going to go through is called The Hero Code by Admiral William H. McRaven. I love these books, the ones that talk about heroism and what sets certain people apart. And he's got some really interesting and powerful points that I guess we all can use and tap into if need be to help us become heroes in our own lives, even if it means being heroes for our children, our partners, our work peers, you name it. But what the author says is there's a few common elements that help us understand ourselves better, and explains certain behaviours, certain heroic, selfless behaviours a little bit better. The author kicks off the book with a beautiful quote, and given that he's been in a leadership position for many years and he's led men and women in times of extreme challenge, I guess he probably knows, as well as most people, probably better than most people, what makes certain people tick and the sort of situations that impact people's behaviours. So he says that he came to realise that there is a hero in all of us, which is very uplifting and I guess very calming, just to know that each person has the capability of being a hero. And he says there that there is no innate code, there's no programming, or there's no certain thing that some people have and other people don't. He says that there's some innate code that we all have that has been with us since the birth of mankind. And essentially, it's written in our DNA. So we're saying that being a hero, heroism, is an element that we all possess, we can all tap into, and we can all make the most of. So he goes on to say that when we're young, when people are young, and we can all attest to this, we all aspire to becoming or being heroes. But as we get older, we tend to lose touch with that ambition. I often scratch my head and wonder, when we're young, there are people who are child prodigies, who are just absolutely fantastic at certain things. Others are really, really good at everything. We've all had friends who are good all-rounders. But as the years pass, instead of them excelling and accelerating away from everybody, they tend to become more average and blend in to the majority instead of standing out and making the most of their skills. And you always say to yourself, you started off with such promise, you had so much potential, you had so many opportunities, and yet you didn't make the most of them. It's always the question that we all have. And I remember years ago reading a book where there was a coach, Coach Woden, is it John Woden? I forgot his first name. I think it's John Woden, who says that you're not judged by by what you achieve, but you are judged by what you should have achieved, given the skills, the opportunities, and the situations that presented themselves to you throughout your life. So something to think about, something to contemplate. But the important point that this author is making is that in each and every one of us, there's an aspiration from a very young age for us to stand out and to do something special with our lives and to leave a legacy. So the author then goes on to make a point that anybody can become a hero with the right key virtues. So it's not skills, it's not those sorts of things. It's actually a virtue-driven episode from what the author is saying. So the virtues will shape you more so than all of the other things. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if there are virtues that are missing in your life, then you can never act out that part, because you need, I guess, to a certain point to have a level of cognitive dissonance when things aren't right, to help you and help steer you in the right path. So it's the virtues that set people apart, according to this author. So I'll cross over the creek here. So as you can see, I'm following a path, which is the red path, which is the footsteps. And in front of me, there'll be a platypus path and a few other paths. I forget the other names, but we'll come across them and then decide which way to go. So it'd be lovely to come down here when it's raining, when it's pelting down, just to see the water rushing through these rocks. So the author then presents 3 key points from this book. And what we'll do is, as I cross the creek here, we'll commence examining each of those points and see what we can learn and take from this book. So the first formal point that the author comes up with is that heroes have courage in the face of danger and are willing to sacrifice for others. So a common element, a common theme that comes from this author is that heroes are selfless and are willing to sacrifice themselves for the rest of the team, for the family, for the business, you name it. But sacrifice, being selfless and wanting to sacrifice yourself, is a key virtue, a key element of building blocks for heroism. So willing to sacrifice themselves, and he gives an example. There was a soldier named Ralph Johnson, and in a skirmish, the army force that he was part of were under significant pressure. They were outnumbered and they were waiting for reserves to come and join them, and it looked as if they were going to get wiped out. And what happened was that a grenade landed in the area that they were fighting in. They may have been in a bunker, or who knows. I don't know the exact story, but I'll just relay it as best as I understand it. So basically they're fighting away, they're outnumbered, they're getting demoralised, and a hand grenade lands right next to where all those soldiers were. And without thinking, without considering his own well-being, what happened next was the the key point that this author wants to make. He says that Ralph Johnson actually threw his body onto the grenade. So he fell onto the grenade purposefully. It exploded, blew him to bits and killed him, but it saved everybody else in that regiment. So what happened after that is probably the key point. So under attack, the regiment held strong. And the reason why they held strong is because they referred and they leveraged the bravery of Ralph Johnson. And they were said to themselves, and what impressed them and got them motivated was that if one person had the courage to save everybody else, then the least that they can do is to fight it out to save each other. So Ralph Johnson, according to this author, got posthumously decorated with a Medal of Honor, one of the highest honours in the US military. And he had a destroyer named after him. So the something Johnson, I think I've heard of it, but I'll look it up and find out a little bit more about it because I am intrigued now. So whenever the US ships ever come into Sydney Harbour, I'll keep an eye out for one that is named Johnson. So the bottom line, according to the author, is that heroes understand that actions speak louder than words. A lot of people are heroes with their mouth off, and try and show off that they're heroic in their actions. But it's only the actions, not the words, which define and establish a person's heroism. The other point that comes out of this book from this author is where he says that heroes don't give in. Heroes never give in. They never give up. They persevere. And you see this often in sport, in rugby league. We've had a few grand finals in the AFL, the NRL. And I'm watching the tennis at the moment as well. And you can tell when a team has given in. You can tell when a team or a player has given up. You know, they just sign out, and it's pretty obvious. But what the author here is saying is that the quality that teams and people have, the heroic quality that they have, is that they persevere. They just stick to it. They never give up hope. And another example that the author gives from this book is a person by the name of James Allison, who lost his mother and 2 uncles to cancer. And he was so distraught at losing the loved ones in his family to cancer that he made a decision right there and then that he was going to find the cure to cancer. And believe it or not, that ambition from a very, very young age enabled him to become a scientist, become a doctor, and to actually find some T-cell therapy that kills cancer cells. And he won a Nobel Prize for his efforts. And the interesting part of the story was that nobody was interested in what he was doing. Nobody was interested in his research. And he persevered, though. He continued to persevere, knowing that what he'd done was going to change the world. And I just need to go down to those rocks over there to cross over. So he persevered, just like I'm persevering here, to cross over. And finally, he was recognised and achieved achieved greatness and has saved millions of people's lives. Hopefully we never have to go down that path ourselves, but to know that there are people out there who have dedicated their lives to finding therapies and solutions to key problems. I'm just crossing over the creek, so I'm a little bit distracted in case I fall over. I'm crossed now, so it's all good. So the author then makes another valid point, and we know this. I've got a nephew of mine who's an absolutely brilliant sprinter, but he's had an injury and wasn't able to compete in the Olympics this year. But hopefully he'll mend, get better, get stronger, and make it to the Commonwealth Games and the next Olympics. But the author here says that those who persevere, even though things aren't going their way, are the ones who get rewarded eventually. But not always. We're going to make the point, not always. He says that for every Olympic gold medalist, there is also an equally talented person who never went through with the training. I remember at school, I played rugby at Newington College, and my friend, who has since passed away, Peter Farr Jones, was in my year, but he had two brothers, Simon and Nicholas. And Nicholas, at school, the youngest brother, didn't make the first 15. He didn't make the first 15. But what happened was that he persevered, he kept on going, kept on training, kept on doing whatever he had to do, and eventually was captain of the Wallabies, who won the World Cup, the Rugby World Cup. And it just goes to show that perseverance can get you to places where other people never thought that you'd ever be able to get to. The last point to come out of this wonderful book is that it's important to give people the gift of hope. And this is what heroes always do. And I guess we've seen it lately with the pandemic, with COVID-19, how there are two schools. You know, one school is get vaccinated so we can work together to relieve the hospital system of the potential of us getting sick, getting hospitalised and dying, and impacting our families. And you've got the anti-vaxxers who are basically against everything and are just causing grief to lots of people. Thankfully, they're only a small group, a tiny group, an almost insignificant group, given that yesterday we reached, in New South Wales, 90.1% first vaccination, which puts us in a position that we may indeed become one of the most highly vaccinated countries in the world. But what I found is throughout this pandemic, there's been such alarmism and people spreading fear, uncertainty and doubt that they're robbing themselves and people around them of hope. They're robbing everybody of hope. Thank God for the politicians. We had Gladys Berejiklian, Brad Hazzard and Kerry Chant. Thank God for our politicians who had a vision, had a plan, and just helped us stick through it, get through it, and we will most certainly see a bounce in our economy, and things hopefully will be better off going to the future. But they gave us hope. They showed us the light at the end of the tunnel. The last point that this book has is where they talk about the Vietnam War. Once again, American soldiers. There were 1,000 American soldiers in POW camps, and there were quite a few in a particular camp. So the Green Berets stormed that camp in order to free the POWs. But what happened was that the prisoners of war had been moved the day before for some particular reason. So the Green Berets stormed the camp, hoping to release the POWs and save them and take them back, but only to find out that the camp had been abandoned of POWs. But what happened next is the most important thing. The POWs, who were suffering badly from malnutrition, disease, bad mental health, and all the things that you'd expect from being in a camp for so long. The fact that somebody cared, the fact that somebody came to try and save them, gave them hope. And for the next couple of years, they lived it with tremendous hope, given that they hadn't been forgotten and that people actually cared and tried. I'll just go up here on the rock here. Bear with me. And people actually tried to save them. How beautiful is it here? So there's a powerful lesson there, that people want to be remembered. People don't want to be forgotten. So, because we all want to belong. We all want to be felt. We all want to be loved. We all want to be missed. So the POWs, according to this author, survived. Most of them, who would have most probably had died had they did not have this hope, survived an extra couple of years of hunger, pain, and a promise of a better tomorrow, and they kept on going. So there's another point, that heroes give hope to those around them. They're positive. They never give up, and they are selfless and are willing to sacrifice in order to achieve a certain outcome. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for joining me on this Sunday episode of Jim's 5am Club. I come to you from this beautiful location here in the bushland between Northmead, North Rocks, Borkham Hills, Castle Hill and Pennant Hills. And this rock here is just a wonderful vantage point. So I look forward to chatting to you again. I look forward to coming to you again from a different location with a different message, a message of empowerment, where we can learn something new, where we can go through a book and discover something new so that we're partners in each other's growth and development. And we'll see where else it leads us. So I'll do a few more vlogs today, so I don't know where I'll be or what I'll be talking about, but I look forward to joining you, where we can go on a journey of discovery, and learn a little bit more about ourselves, and to absorb and incorporate OPE, other people's experience and learnings into our inventory of skills. Take care, everybody. Yassas. Bye for now, and happy Sunday. And most importantly, to all the people in New South Wales, happy Freedom Day tomorrow. Happy Freedom Day. And hopefully the worst is behind us. Take care, everybody. Yassas, and bye for now.